Yeah, greetings in the name of the one and only, the true King of Kings, Kadamawi Haile Selassie. This little clip today, I'm doing it out of observations of recent events in the United States of America. Now, America is one of the places that epitomizes what the evil of so-called white supremacy is. Why I said it epitomizes it is because in South Africa, it was so blatant and in your face that the world ultimately cried out. Despite them having imprisoned Mandela for how many years, etc., the world saw it and cried out, and it was stamped out. But in places like Britain and America, very similar and probably worse practices are carried out routinely. But there's no world cry because of the seemingly subtle way with which it's done. If you go to killedbypolice.net, you have an idea of people who have been shot and killed by police in the United States. Only for 2017, and you'd see the numbers. And then if you look at the ethnicities of these people, you will also see another glaring fact, that the majority are black folk. When it comes to violence in the land, on earth, the primary representatives of violence on earth are the Caucasians. The only people who have invaded every inch of this planet and slaughtered natives have been Caucasians. So in terms of violence, blacks are not violent when compared to whites. We cannot be as violent as compared to whites. Now, something happened in Virginia, then there was another incident in South Carolina, and Scum took about 48 hours before he offered a so-called apology or excuse, I don't know what to call it. But then in less than 48 hours, he came out and retracted his statement. He is a primary example of being white in America, because psychologists will tell you that grandiosity, feelings of grandeur, are a key element to mental illness. And the fact that naturally, scientifically, biologically, environmentally, however you choose to analyze it, genetically the most inferior people on our planet are whites. Which means when it comes to natural survival, whites do not have an advantage over anyone, period. Blacks, on the other hand, stand at the top of that ladder. So why are we so opposite? Why are we so different? We are much more loving and compassionate and caring and humane. They, on the other hand, are much more ruthless, lack of compassion. There actually have been studies carried out where they've collected electroencephalograms and other electric monitors to the brains, to the heads of different ethnicities to evaluate their reaction to other people's emotions, conditions, traumas, etc. And it was proven that whites lack empathy for anything that's not white. Blacks, on the other hand, seem to be the most nurturing people. We felt equally for everybody. Now, you hear Scum talking about, oh, both parties were acting violently, which is BS. Blacks rarely come out and act in violence. Most times it's provoked. When there's Black Lives Matter marches, they're agent provocateurs that are sent to stir up stuff just so that the police could brutalize black folk, to stick with the stereotype that blacks are violent. Whites have been seen pushing, the nationalists and the fascists and the Nazis were pushing the police barricade, and everybody had big smiles on their faces. Not one baton was raised, not one bullet was fired on any of them. Had that been a Black Lives Matter protest, and they would be pushing against. As a matter of fact, the Black Lives Matter protesters cannot push against the police. The police push against them, and if they dare to resist, they kick the black out of them. Now, violence on black folks, yeah, we should be violent. We have every right to be violent. And just like you think you're entitled to some kind of supremacy despite your genetic inferiority, we are entitled to some amount of anger. Because for centuries you've been slaughtering us with impunity. We have never cut living babies out of your mother's wombs to use them as bait for alligators. There are historical accounts of whites doing that to blacks in America. There have been postcards made of black babies that were used as alligator babes, as alligator bait. And if you Google it, you can find it. Alligator bait, nigger baby alligator bait. That was a brand name. This was something that was actually normal to them. So how can you be superior to anybody when your inferior mentality is shown in everything you do? And with an inferior mentality, an inferior psychology, an inferior spirit, being superior is ridiculous. So the white supremacy thing is not a myth, it's a mental illness. You cannot be superior if you're naturally the most inferior of us all. And if we were to get violent, it is our right. We have a right to be violent. You have been nothing but violent to us. You have never shown us anything but violence. Does the Black Lives Matter movement, does the Black Panthers? The Black Panthers came off to fight off your KKK, who was slaughtering us side by side with the police. And as a matter of fact, it's also proven that the police force is infiltrated, saturated with KKK members. And it's not something that's not known. But again, it goes with their nature, their ruthless nature. That is how they are. They will not change. The only thing that will change them is somebody, something, some group who proves to be more ruthless than they are. It's like a virus. You got to fight it with something more virulent. And that's what they are. Now, what is the point of this video? For 500 years plus, we have been enduring the same thing, marching and praying and thinking it will work. It will not work. It has not worked. Their nature will not change. Generations, 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 gene rations. Unless you are prepared to carry out genocide, those genes will remain, the same genes that cut the babies out of their mothers to use as bait, the same genes that hung our men, women, and children in trees for fun, took their families to visit it. Some were done in front of the courtyards. Some of these courtyards, some of us are subjected to go and face some kind of justice. So when you see them pulling down these monuments, the symbols that they have, the things that symbolize, so they will not change. Generations of evil will remain unless generations of good are prepared to stamp them out and stamp them out. We cannot be tolerant because they have not tolerated us. Over 500 years, you can see they've killed us, they've slaughtered us. They are not prepared to help us in any way, shape, or form. And I shouldn't say help. They're not prepared to give us the reparations that are due to us. And they will tell you that it was not taken without violence. So how will they give it to you without some kind of violence? So am I inciting violence? Maybe, maybe not. I am inciting whatever is necessary for us to get on the footing where we should, where we ought to be as a people. A people who started civilization, a people who built pyramids, a people who established language, a people who established all the major religions. are people who established the first universities on our planet. Everything they have learned, they learned from us, but they took it and twisted it and changed the names of everything and made it theirs. They rewrote all the books, they made it theirs. So suddenly the black man was a non-entity, the white man was everything. They literally flipped the script 180, not 360, because that would bring it right back around. We got to flip it the other 180 to take it back to 360. And it's time. The time is past due. We need to wake up. We need to start our own little farms amongst our neighbors and exchange crops. We need to start making our own clothing and shoes and stuff. Forget the brand name for a while. It's sacrifice. We ain't doing it for us. We're doing it for our children, so that they could live like Todd and Becky and them in the future, having no fear, no care, no worry of what today or tomorrow might bring. They could go on the Red Bull Challenge and fly out the airplanes and just be happy. Because these are things that you can do when you have no stress. When you got no stress, you can think, you can imagine, you can create, you can invent. And that has been a major strategy of theirs by maintaining us in the conditions we are in. Unable to think, unable to settle, unable to invent, unable to do the things we would do in times when we were building pyramids. We were building pyramids hundreds of thousands of years ago. Had we been left in peace and tranquility to evolve as a people, imagine where we would be today. Now again, we are generations of those people, gene rations of those same people, just like those evil devils are gene rations of the same ones who came in and tried to destroy those pyramids and everything we did. So there will never be peace and harmony amongst us. Am I saying they're all evil? No. The vast majority. Does the existence, does the perpetuation of this supremacy, fallacy, insanity. The majority of them are in agreement with it. That's the only way it could have survived this long. Not all of them. Are we all thinking like I am? No. You got the Sheriff Clarks and them who think differently. You got the housing dude who thinks differently, because yeah, psychology is a hell of a drug. And it's psychology for them, Western terminology for the black man is spirituality. They tamper with your spirit, your core, your inner essence. Thus you have Clark and Sotomayor and Barkley and Lemon and these other, Steve Harvey every now and Steve, I mean, it's a long list. Raven Simone. These, you got these, some people would call them coons. I call them mentally sick Negroes. Negroes in need, dire need of spiritual help, of guidance. Because a chain is as strong as its weakest link. And as it is now, there are a lot of weak links amongst us. And it's time to wake up, wise up, and rise up. The head creator lives within each and every one of us. That's why I follow Rastafari, because he crowned himself King of Kings, and the power of the cosmos, of the universe that backed him, that supported him at that time, made it so that every leader on the planet went and bowed, paid homage, acknowledged it. They gave it credence. So for me, the black man still reigns King of Kings, and the black woman Queen of Queens, the most superior of all human beings, the original possessor of the so-called Eve gene. I love you, man.